the ability to change and adapt is the difference between whether or not you're going to be excellent or mediocre.
Do you realize that the Prime Minister of this country in 25 years will come out of one of your schools? Wow. We're preparing people for jobs that don't exist. We're preparing people for a global marketplace. We're preparing people to do things that you and I thought were science fiction. Change doesn't fail because of bad models. It fails because of faulty leadership. If you'd ask someone, would Randy Pennington one day be addressing the school trustees of the country of New Zealand, they would have asked you to take a drug test. I didn't arrive here alone. But you know what? You didn't either, did you? If you'd asked me when I was 17 years old, by the way, that was me at 17. Good-looking kid, don't you think? Yeah. If you'd asked me at 17 years old what my perspective was on GISD, I probably would have told you some names of teachers. But you see, my perspective at 17 was kind of limited because I didn't think about things in a broad enough perspective. There's some things that I missed if I'd been 17 years old and standing in front of you. One of the things is I would have missed the facilities people that keep us warm and cold and make sure it's safe and clean in every building. I would have missed the transportation people who make sure people get to where they need to be and that the fleet works. I would have missed the nutrition people who, for many of the people, my classmates and probably the students that you teach, those are the folks who probably give them the best meal they're going to have that day. I would have missed the counselors. I would have missed the education strategists, because I'm not sure we had education strategists back then. I would have missed probably the administrators, and most important, I probably would have missed the office admin staff who truly keep this place running and never say a word to anybody. Now, when I got married, my wife said to me, "Randy, I'll never ask you to change." And I thought, cool. She then went on to say, "I do expect that you'll continually adapt." Couple, you're going to write that one down, aren't you? You change a light bulb when? And it goes out. By the way, you might want to jump in. The questions get harder as we go through the day. Athletic teams change their coaches when? When they lose. Now, living near Dallas, there are some exceptions. Organizations change when, and see, if you first thought they're in trouble, then we've missed it. Because if you think that we change when we're in trouble, then we're thinking about change the old way. The best organizations are continually changing all the time.
I think Randy Pennington is very inspirational, and he's very easy to listen to, and he's a lot of fun, but he's also got a lot of information to share.
Very compelling speaker. I like how he tells stories that allows you to just relate to what he's saying into your everyday lifestyle. Some of the comments and the notes that I've been taking, not really a big note taker, but today I'm taking notes.
The culture always wins. A great transformation and change effort with a resistant culture. The culture always wins. If we can change the culture, we change the results. Culture has been sort of hijacked. It's been hijacked to think that people to think that means ping pong tables and foosball tables and beanbag chairs. And I got to tell you, when I speak with and talk with and work with the young MBA students and young graduates and young people coming into the workforce today, it's not that they don't like those things, but that's really not that important. Given the opportunity, create the culture that allows people to do great work. A place that has fun, that doesn't deliver results, yeah, that's not a company, that's a party. So as we think about this challenge of how do we create a culture of excellence, it begins with the choices you make at the board level. You see, I believe that the job of the board is to steer the boat. The job of the staff is to row the boat. The job of the board is to steer, and we steer through the policy choices that you make. So the decisions that you make at the board level around education, around quality, around expectations, those things then get translated into actions. And when you reinforce them at the board level through the way you take action and the way you create accountability and the way you reinforce existing and new behaviors, that becomes habit, and that habit starts to drive the culture. Our students get better when we get better. You agree with that? Right. And so because they get better when we get better, it's up to us to think about this every day is how can I help somebody else figure out how to be more successful? See, when we start thinking about partnerships, we realize that everything that happens affects everything else in the district. When the air conditioning doesn't work, it affects learning in the classroom, doesn't it? When the school buses are late, it affects the entire day on the campus. When something is out of sorts, when something bad goes on in one class, it affects everything in another class, doesn't it? So if we start thinking about this from a partnership standpoint, it's the realization that if we all think about this as one group, it's not about campuses. By the way, I love the fact that you're all identified by campuses, but this is all us. And that level of partnership that we need to succeed requires us to think differently. Don't allow yourself to remain complacent. The CEO of Netflix said his biggest fear was that Netflix couldn't make the jump from DVD to streaming. What I want you to do is change the conversation to not, they would never let us, but how would they let us? Not that could never work to how could that work? 7 last words of any organization. We've never done it that way before. Your hands now. You guys are enjoying this way too much. Person B, what did I tell you to do? Nothing. But what did we do? We resisted. You see, here's the thing. A lot of the resistance that you have to change is our fault. It's not theirs. See, the challenge most of us face, I believe, isn't what we know. It's what we're willing to do on a consistent basis. The present should be guided more by the future than the past. What will you do right now? What will you glean from this conference? What are you going to do today that will guarantee your success tomorrow? The mind stretched by the possibility and the potential of a new idea never returns to its original shape. Thank you all. Thank you for what you do. Thank you.